Today we're going to start to add value to our phobia project. Okay, so I'm going to be adding value through Sharpies. Remember, you can do these same value techniques with pencils, pen and ink, really any material that you want, charcoal, things like that. It's really up to you what kind of material you want to use on your art project. So I'm going to be showing you a bunch of different techniques throughout my phobia paper. Remember, you were supposed to choose a phobia, and now we're going to be adding value to our image. So the first value that I'm going to be kind of showing you is stippling. Okay, as you remember, stippling is when we create dots. Now, when I look at this head of my human, I know that it is a curved image. So obviously, our heads are curved. And what will happen through just natural values is my image will have a lot of value in here and then start to get some more value in here, but then decrease on these like white areas, okay? So because the image is curved, we're gonna start adding a good amount of value and shadows right here. And then through these kind of almost like wrinkles on his face, and then we'll also be decreasing the value. So in order to start adding value, I'm just going to start to stipple. Remember, when we stipple, we are just essentially adding dots. You can stipple with pencils, Sharpies, pens, pen and ink, really anything that you want. But what I'm going to do is, as I'm starting to come away from the edge of my head, I am going to start to kind of decrease the amount of dots I have and make them more spread out. But within my creases of the face, I am going to get a little bit heavy on my dots just to show the differences in value here. But then I'm also going to get really light and really show the lights as well. So remember, stippling is somewhat of an annoying technique because it does take a while, but it can really show really nice, a nice value scale by just obviously adding less dots and more dots when you feel as if you need to get darker values. So I'm just going in here, and as you can see, my value is building up over here and starting to decrease as I continue throughout this portion of his forehead. But I do want some value in these creases because when I look at like a portrait of someone who has wrinkles, I can see darker values there. Okay, so that is stippling in a nutshell. It's very easy. As I said, the more dots you put down, the darker the value will be. The more spread out your dots are, the lighter the value will be. Okay, so that is one technique. Let's go to hatching. All right, so I am going to hatch. I'm going to hatch over here as well, just to kind of show you differences. All right, so with hatching, we're just going using the shape of the object, and we're just making lines. So as I said, my shape here is curved. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be starting to add hatch marks like this. Now remember, you only have to pick one value type technique to use. I'm just showing you a bunch of them. And remember, as your values get lighter, you can always start to spread out some of these lines so that they're not all clustered together, okay? So I'm just showing value by, as I said, layering some lines or some hatches, but then as my value decreases or I need some lights, I will start to kind of pull away from being so close to one another, okay? So that is hatching. Cross-hatching, you would do the same thing, but instead we're going to add a cross. So I'm just going to start to cross in here. Obviously, I can pull my lines further away from each other in order to create more lights. And then when I want more dark areas, I'm just going to obviously put my lines closer to one another. So we did stippling, I showed you hatching over here, and then I showed you cross hatching. Okay, the last one is going to be blending, okay? So blending, obviously, if you want to blend, you may need to use either a pencil or pen and ink or charcoal, because sometimes it is a little bit difficult to show, blending techniques with our markers. So I'm going to be showing you that. Okay, so for the blending techniques, I'm going to push my markers aside and I'm just going to use my my charcoal, I'm sorry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start, obviously, as we talked about before, this is a dark area because of the form of the circle. So I'm just going to start to add some of those darker areas within my artwork, okay? Then I'm going to take my blending tool and I'm going to start to blend to make it a little bit smoother and to show a little bit more, highlights and darks, things like that. Okay. Remember, you can always use a kneaded eraser or even a regular eraser to kind of pick up some of this charcoal if you are choosing to use charcoal, and to make things a little bit whiter, or lighter, I should say. Okay. I love adding, lots of different values into my artwork. I think it's really nice to show different types of, darks and lights, and it becomes a more dramatic piece when we do add more value. Okay, so I've showed you a bunch of different techniques here. You have to only choose one of them. You could use more than one if you want, and remember, you can use any sort of material that you have at home.